Hello. Oh my gosh, it's been a couple weeks. Um, Welcome to Meditation Breaks. I'm Keith. I'm your meditation instructor here on this channel. And before we go any further, thank you everyone for being so understanding and flexible over the last couple weeks. It's been a little wild here. I was like not feeling so great. Then we got 3 feet of snow out of nowhere, and we lost power. It's great to see you too. So, but the snow is gone and we're back. So thank you guys. Cool. So if you're brand new here, welcome. And we have like a kind of cadence that we do each week. And each week there is a topic that we focus on. But obviously, if you're new, the main topic is how do I meditate? And so no matter what our kind of weekly topic is, we always start with that. So our itinerary for today will follow this kind of cadence. We'll talk a little bit about meditation, what it is, how we do this thing, why bother, which is an important question. We have finite amount of time. Why should we dedicate our time to this? Hey guys, thanks. I'm glad I made it too. So then we'll do a little meditation together. It'll be short, nothing long. It couldn't not more than 5 minutes. Just a little breathing meditation to kind of put some of the stuff we talked about into practice. Right. And then after that, we're going to talk a little bit about our topic and then do another meditation that's related to that topic. Hey, Patricia. Oh, I'm glad to see you guys too. I'm glad to not have 3 feet of snow. All right. So, last thing I'll say before we, kick off here is ask me questions. If anything comes up, you're unsure, I said something that didn't make sense, or you had a thought or experience that you want to share, you can always do so. You don't have to wait for me to say, hey, it's question time. It's always question time here. So you can just use the chat. You can see some people already using it. That would be the best way to get your question answered. Though if you do not want to use the chat, or you think of a question after the live stream is over, which I very often always do, I will give everyone my email. And so you can email me anything that comes up. All right. Leslie, I'm glad you're here too. All right. So we're going to get started by thinking about what does this word meditation mean? And we don't have to think very long, regardless of if you are, I don't know, some veteran meditator or brand new. We all have a very similar image of meditation. And that's, somebody sitting on the floor, cross-legged, maybe their hands are like this, their eyes are closed, they look really relaxed. This is our basic generic image of what meditation is, right? And this is a way to meditate. You can meditate sitting down on the floor with your legs crossed and your eyes closed. But that is not the definition of meditation. It's just a way to do it. So then what is meditation? What does this word actually mean? And the definition that I like to kind of place on this word is meditation is a technique that you use to train your mind to become really familiar with stuff. It's an official definition, including the word stuff. So what does that mean, right? It's all about familiarity, which is a aspect of our life that is extremely powerful, extremely important, and maybe we don't really think about it that much, right? Now, the idea of familiarizing your mind with something is like not normal. We don't talk that way, right? We're not like, I'm going to learn a new language, and by doing so, I'll familiarize my mind. Like we just don't say those things, but we are familiarizing our mind with things all day long, right? Every moment. And we can look at something a little bit more common to see how this idea of familiarity plays into our life in many different ways. So if we think about something you're super familiar with, like an activity, like walking, right? Now, if I was like, hey, could you go walk down the street? You'd probably be like, why? And then I'd just be like, I don't know. I don't have a good reason. And then you'd begrudgingly do it. But you wouldn't have to think too much about the mechanics of walking, right? You wouldn't be like, okay, well, now I got to put one foot in front of the other and got to keep my balance here. I'm on my left foot. We don't think that way anymore. But you were not born knowing how to walk, right? And I have a fairly new nephew, and he's just started walking, and it's been really interesting because it's not very graceful. He has to think about it a lot, right? So what happened in between you being so unfamiliar with walking that it took so much of your concentration to now? Practice, right? Just repetition, becoming really familiar with this mechanic and all the things involved in it. And the result of becoming familiar with walking is what? It comes naturally to us. We don't have to think about it as much, right? And practice makes progress. There you go. Exactly. And if you think about now, we can walk while doing all sorts of stuff. We're talking on the phone. We're thinking about work. I don't know. There's a million things we do while we're walking. We can walk backwards. That's impressive. Yeah. We are so good, so familiar with walking that we don't have to really think about it. It just kind of comes to us. The same is true with anything you've ever learned, right? If you learn a new language, whatever your job is, your career, like at first that was kind of unfamiliar to you. Now you kind of got the hang of it, right? This idea of familiarity leads to things coming more naturally is the key takeaway, right? Because it isn't just true for physical activity like walking. It's true for mental activity, right? So maybe you are here to learn how to relax. It's a pretty big entry point into meditation. Does meditation relax you? Actually, no. Meditation does not create relaxation, right? So what meditation is doing is teaching you to become super familiar with relaxed you, this version of you that is relaxed. It shows up from time to time. We wish it would show up all the time. That's why we're here, maybe. But meditation isn't creating anything. It's just a technique to get you so familiar with relaxed you that what happens? Exactly like walking, relaxed you just starts to show up a little more regularly without you having to try so hard. It starts to become your default, right? So this idea of familiarity is super important. And everything we talk about today, if you come back, it's all based around this concept. That's what meditation is. Right? Cool? So, how do we do it? All right. Love that. Cool. Good. Sometimes we think of meditation as like, oh, it's like this, out there thing. No, we do it all the time. We're expert meditators. We just often are meditating on maybe things that aren't really beneficial to us, or we don't want to, like we're fixated on something. And it works both ways. So if you think about getting angry, you don't have to try to get angry or frustrated. It just happens, right? Our mind has had a ton of practice getting frustrated. Being super patient, we have to try, right? That takes time. Sometimes we have to be like, I need a moment, right? And it's not because we're incapable. It's just our mind does what our mind is familiar with, period. Right? So we're going to start to choose what our mind is familiar with. And as a result, we start to take ownership over our own thoughts, which is a really kind of empowering thought. At least I think so. Okay, so how do we meditate? Whenever we start learning how to meditate, the first kind of technique we learn is breathing meditation. You have probably heard of it. It's pretty common these days, which is awesome. And breathing meditation is a more generic term for what is called single-pointed concentration. And all that means is focusing on one thing. It's exactly what it sounds like, right? We're single-pointedly concentrating on something. In the case of breathing meditation, we are single-pointedly concentrating on our breath. But we can single-pointedly concentrate on anything. We can single-pointedly concentrate on lifting this delicious seltzer up and down, and the cool thing about meditation is that whether we're focusing on our breath, focusing on lifting a can up, it's all practicing this same thing, training our mind to focus single-pointedly on something. Why? Right? A couple reasons. First, when we focus single-pointedly on something truly, what happens, right? You ever been in the zone, like called flow state or something like that? You're working on something. What happens? You lose track of time. All right. Maybe you got these, like, I don't know, you work in your office and it's loud, but if you're really plugged in, it's almost like those noises are gone. They're not gone. They're there, but they've faded into the kind of back of your mind. Yes, exactly. Everything else goes away, right? Not literally. I mean, it's still there, but mentally it kind of goes away, right? So we've had these kind of meditative experiences many times in our life. And what we're trying to do here is train our mind to be like, hey, you can do this more often when you want to, not just like randomly, right? So we are going to practice focusing so single-pointedly on our own breath that what's going to happen? All those other thoughts, worries about what I got to do for work tomorrow. I got to cook later, or somebody said something to me last week that really annoyed me. All those things that are constantly just like in our mind, they're going to start to fade a little bit, right? They're going to go away just a little bit. And that is called pacifying our mind. And that's a really important step. It's the first step of meditation. And even if you just stopped right there and did that, that would be like a life-changing thing, because what are you actually doing here? You are teaching your mind, teaching yourself to take a moment, focus on one thing, relax yourself, right? And you don't have any, you don't need anything. That's the kind of beauty of this. And it's why breath is often used primarily for introduction, for like the first thing that you focus on, is because it's really important to know that you don't need specific conditions to do this. You don't got to go to a mountain. You don't have to, leave your friends behind on a retreat or something for 3 months. No, you don't need to do that at all. Just need a little bit of time, some patience, and your breath. And you could do this. So let's do it. We're going to do a breathing meditation now. And instructionally, it's pretty straightforward. There are 3 steps. The first step is we are going to choose to do this. I know it sounds weird, but we're setting an intention to focus single-pointedly on our breath. Why? We accidentally have meditative experiences all the time, which is awesome, but we're wanting to practice do this intentionally. So all that means is you're just going to take a moment and be like, okay, mind, for the next couple of minutes, we're going to focus exclusively on our breath, and that's it. That's the promise we make, right? So we've set our intention. There's step 1, step 2. We're going to actually do that. I'll be guiding it. Don't worry, you're not going to be on your own. And then whenever you notice that your mind is no longer single-pointedly focused on your breath, maybe you like split, right? You're like jumping back and forth. You're thinking about what you have to do later. Whenever you notice that, we're just going to be like, not right now to those thoughts. That's our little saying here, not right now. We're not saying those thoughts are bad, intrusive, wrong. They're not. They're thoughts. Our mind thinks that's what it does. Just not now, right? We are taking ownership over our own thoughts. And so we're going to actually kind of imagine ourselves placing them aside. We'll get to them later, right? And then step 3 is we guide our attention back to breathing. So it's a little loop, right? We're choosing to focus on our breath, noticing when our attention drifts, bringing it back. That's it. That's the practice of single pointed concentration. Cool? Okay. Last thing that you might notice is I'm not on the floor. I'm sitting in an office chair. It is quite comfortable. You do not need to sit on the floor, though you can. The beauty of meditation is, again, you don't need specific conditions. If you had to sit on the floor to meditate, well, that really wouldn't be very helpful for us as we get older, right? It's a little harder to sit on the floor. I don't even know if I can do it. My back will hurt, right? So you don't have to sit that way. You do whatever is comfortable for you. Lay down. It doesn't matter. Just get relatively comfortable. It doesn't have to be, the most comfortable you've been in your whole life, but you don't want to be that uncomfortable. Sitting on the couch. Beautiful. Perfect. I wish I was. All right. So whether you're sitting on the couch, in a chair, on the floor, laying down, whatever, you can go ahead and close your eyes. This will help with some of the visual distractions. And I'm going to guide us through probably about a 5-minute breathing meditation. Okay. Whenever we start a meditation, take a moment and check in with yourself. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? What is my mind up to? Maybe you're tired. You've had a long day. Maybe you're feeling energetic, happy, melancholy. Whatever it is, it does not matter. We are not doing anything about these feelings. We are just noticing them. We are an observer of our own mind. What is your mind up to right now? And having taken inventory of where your mind is, we can now make a promise to ourselves. A promise to focus single pointedly, exclusively on your own breath for the next couple of minutes. Make that promise to yourself. And with it firmly in place, you can do just that. Turn your full undivided attention to your breath. Breathing in, breathing out, very gently and very naturally. There is no reason to change anything about how you breathe. No need to take big, deep inhales or forcefully exhale air. Just breathe how you normally would, whatever that is. In and out. Gently, naturally. At some point, often rather quickly, we may notice that our mind is no longer exclusively on our breath. Maybe it's splitting time, thinking about what we have to do later after this class ends, or something that happened earlier in the day. Whenever you notice that your mind is drifting in that way, we can just say, not right now, to those thoughts. We'll get to them later. Actually imagine yourself placing those thoughts to the side and then purposefully guide your attention back to breathing. In out. Gently, naturally. We are single-pointedly focused on our breath, on each moment of our breath. See if you can follow the journey that the air makes every time you breathe in. When you inhale, can you watch that air as it leaves the atmosphere and enters your body? Can you feel your lungs expanding to accommodate that air? And what about that air's journey as it leaves your body? Can you follow that as well? When you exhale, can you watch that air leave your lungs, feeling them contract? Can you observe as that air exits your body? Watch it dissipate back into the atmosphere. Such a brief moment, but such an important thing, important connection. You and that pocket of air, or that moment. In and out, gently, naturally. Keep bringing your attention back to your own breath whenever you notice it drifting. Doesn't matter how many times you need to do this. The goal here is not to never get distracted, but rather to become really adept at noticing when you are, so you can do something about it. This little loop we're doing is meditation. You are meditating right now. You are training your mind to focus on what you want to focus on. And right now, the only thing you want to focus on is breathing in and breathing out gently, naturally. Just for the last few moments, continue to breathe and just enjoy being here. No need to think too much. Just take a little time for you. Okay. And when you are ready, you can open your eyes. Hello, welcome. Megan, can I please send me some meditation? So Megan, if you're interested in learning some like other types of things, my YouTube channel has all my old sessions, so you can check that out. Also, if you email me, I'll give you my email later in the stream. If you email me, we can like talk about whatever like specifics you're looking for. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Cool. So that was breathing meditation. It's 3 steps. Now, just because something's 3 steps doesn't mean that it's easy. And maybe we notice that. We notice, hey, my mind is all over the place. All right? That's what minds do. Minds think. And it's not that we're, sometimes if we're like, man, I was having trouble concentrating. I'm not good at meditation. That's what we think. We're all equally awesome at meditation. My karma seems off. I'm okay. I just I got a little. I've not been feeling that great the last couple of weeks, but that's all. I'm a little tired, but thanks for checking on me. I appreciate that. So if you are like, man, my mind's been kind of like all over the place, right? It's fine, right? Like sometimes we think I'm not good at meditating. I got distracted. No, we all get distracted. Your mind thinks. That's what it does. It's doing what it does. What we're trying to do is start to be an active participant on what our mind is focusing on little by little, right? So it's a practice. And over time, this will become easier. You'll be able to stay focused on your breath longer, so you'll settle in a little bit more. Those other thoughts will start to fade into the background a little more quickly without so much effort. It's all based in familiarity, right? Cool. Is it okay if I keep saying in my head, just keep breathing over and over? Sure. So what I would suggest, so that's it's almost like a little mantra. And sometimes we hear that word. All that means is like a little thing saying we repeat, right? So what I'll say is you can meditate on that. Like I'm going to just say that over and over again, and I'm going to focus on that single pointedly. And anytime I catch myself not focusing on those words, that phrase, I'm going to bring my attention back to it. It's the exact same thing, right? It's the exact same thing as what we just did or any other form of meditation. You're just changing the object of your focus. What I would caution against is being like, I'm going to focus on my breath and then start focusing on saying, just keep breathing. Just pick one, like it doesn't matter what you're focusing on, but pick that thing and then stick to it. Cool. Great question. Really great question. Leslie, I'm going to give my email a little bit later in the stream towards the end. So if you got to go, you can always just kind of bounce back and check out after it's archived and you can get that. Thanks. Cool. Okay. So that's breathing meditation. Congrats. You did it. Not that bad, right? And this is great news because what you just did is this, no matter what meditation we do here together, those steps that you just did, choosing to focus on something single pointedly, noticing when your attention drifts, bringing your attention back. It's the same, right? So it's a very transferable skill, I guess you could say. Okay, we're going to now talk about our topic for today, and then we'll do a little meditation on that to close out our evening. And our topic for today is one that I really love. Lucia, hello. How are you? We're going to talk about curiosity, and we have kind of been talking about this a little roundabout the last couple of weeks. But we're going to talk about what specifically we're going to talk about what is like a curious mind and what kind of benefits does a curious mind give us, and how can meditation help us cultivate a curious mind if we want to, right? Cool. So what is curiosity? I always think of it every time I'm doing well. Thanks. Anytime I think of curiosity, I think of, I don't know. Like that's what I think of. Right? What does mean? Always searching. Andre, wow, I haven't seen you in a bit. Wanted to learn about something. Yes, exactly. So when I think of mine's a very rudimentary definition. Yours are way better, right? But we know what it means. It's searching, right? not final, flexible, open to variation. I didn't think of it that way. What if it was like that, right? That is curiosity, right? And the opposite is what? Nuance. Oh, I love that. What's the opposite of like curiosity? I don't even know like word wise, but very matter of fact, right? There's no room for growth. There's no room for other options, right? Closed. Great. That's great. Closed mindedness, closed off. Awesome. Right. So these are our two kind of things. Not being curious about something. Yeah. Right. Just like set in my ways. This is how it is. Cool. Right. Apathy. Oh, we're getting deep now. Right. Great. So these are awesome definitions. Right. So what is if that's what curiosity is, what is a curious mind? Right? A mind that kind of embraces those things, right? I like to, when I think of like a curious mind, it's like a show or something. I keep saying it. I feel like it's a show. Open to new things. Oh, indifference is interesting, right? Because indifference sometimes implies that we are like, we don't care. But actually, and we're going to talk about this a lot, a curious mind cares a ton, enough to think deeply about something, right? An amazing mind. Yeah. Hungry. Oh, I like that. Hungry, right? I like to think of a curious mind as one that welcomes uncertainty, questioning, welcomes the unknown, finds interest in it. Now, when I say those words, uncertainty, unknown, oh boy, we don't like those. Those are not words that we like. You know? Those are not words. Curious George, amazing. These are, but like the concept of I don't know, or I'm uncertain what will happen, or what, like generally we find those feelings to be not that great, right? Some people love them, and that's awesome, right? But not everyone gravitates to that. And even if we kind of do gravitate to some things, everyone has, whether it's we're anxious about social settings, or, we have like a pet peeve, like we all have like something where we're like, oh, that's super annoying. I don't like that. Oh, this makes me nervous. And those kind of thoughts are, in a way, a not curious mind. It's like, oh, that is bad, period. Right? So this idea of curiosity and uncertainty, they're kind of like parallel. They're kind of like a partnership. And one of them, we kind of are like, oh, curiosity, cool. The other one, we're like, oh. Right? Reminds me of COVID when we lived in uncertainty. Oh, amazing example. All right. Amazing example. Also, think about a to-do list. I like to bring this up a lot. A to-do list is a great example of how we, even at a very kind of light level, want certainty in our entire day. Right? I'm going to make a to-do list. This is me writing. I'm going to wake up on time. It's already probably not happening. I'm going to eat a hearty breakfast. Step 3, I'm going to drive to work. Be on time for work. Then I'm going to focus entirely. We have this to-do list, right? We have this plan. And we want things to go that way, but it doesn't always go that way. And so a to-do list is an interesting example of how, and I'm not saying don't do to-do lists. They're like really helpful, but sometimes we can get our mind into this is how it has to be for a good day, right? And so that's a mind that is more matter of fact, not as curious, open, not final, flexible. Those words, right? Cool. So do you have a curious mind? Do you think that you do? We all do, right? I think the answer is sometimes, right? Whether or not those are hard for you. To-do lists? Me too. We all have a curious mind, just like we all have a peaceful us, right? We were talking about how meditation doesn't really relax you. It's teaching you to become familiar with relaxed you that's already there. Like, we have these facets of our personality, of ourselves, our characteristics. They're there, right? Our goal is to start to think about, hey, are there ways I can surface curious me a little bit more often, right? I love to do this, but never put too much to do on your to-do list. That's good advice right there. All right, that's good advice. Get like 10 things on there. It's gonna start to be tough to get them all done, right? So we often have a curious mind when we're interested in something, right? I am very interested in video games. You're probably like, oh. But I like figuring them out. I basically like puzzles, right? Like, I like figuring that stuff out, right? And so when I'm doing that, my mind, because I'm interested in it, is almost always, not always, but almost kind of naturally gravitating towards the curiosity end of the spectrum, right? What if I do it like this? Yeah, Minecraft gamer there. There we go. Right? Oh, what if I combine this material with that material? All right. These are curious minds, openness. It's not final. We don't know the answers, and that's okay. Right? So here's this idea of like, we are welcoming the unknown. We're like kind of basking in it a little bit. Right? You have to-do lists for your video games. Ultimately, video games are kind of like a giant to-do list. So this idea of being interested in something, we can call upon that to kind of remind ourselves that we do have a curious mind. It's often just when we're interested in something, right? Now, when you are not interested in something, do you have a curious mind? It's an interesting question, right? Like, I'm going to use this example. I used this before. So if you've been coming here, you probably heard it. But we're driving on our car, right? And somebody cuts us off. We're like, what are you doing? You jerk. Like, we're like, there's no investigation here, right? We're like, this person cut me off. They're clearly a jerk, and they don't think about anyone else but themselves, right? Like, but if we had a more curious mind, we might start to see that might not be as matter of fact. Maybe they were rushing to see somebody at the hospital, and they just kind of lost track. Maybe like a spider flew down in front of their face. Like, there's a million different. You always say, maybe they gotta pee. That's great. I love that. The answer is we don't know, right? But it's not guaranteed that they're this awful person. Also, we've probably cut people off too, right? So this is an example of how when we are not interested in something, but like frustrated, worried, we like focus in, right? And it's just like, this is how it is. They're a jerk. Or if we're like anxious about an event, what if it's going to go bad? What if I say this and it goes bad, right? I don't know. What if it's awesome, right? We don't think of that part. So curiosity and a curious mind starts to open us up to analyzing things that seem very concrete, inflexible, final. and start to see that there are other avenues. And this is really important for meditation because it's a huge part of what we do after breathing meditation when we start to investigate our mind. Tony, thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate that. It means a lot. Okay, so curiosity in meditation, a curious mind in meditation. What we did with breathing meditation is what I'll call like pacifying our mind, right? Our mind is very busy. And if we just try to like think about, let's kind of ponder something, sometimes our mind's like, I'm all over the place. So what we did is really important for kind of settling our mind. And then after pacifying, we can, if we want to, we can use that more pacified mind to investigate something. And there's an analogy that I love that kind of shows this relationship. And both of these things are meditation. All meditation is choosing to focus on something, noticing when you're not, bringing your attention back, whether we're focusing on our breath to pacify our mind or focusing on this person cut me off. What could possibly have been the reasons for this? It's the same concept, right? So this analogy is, imagine you're on a little walk. It's a beautiful summer day. You're, I don't know, maybe you're on vacation somewhere, and you're on a little hike, and you come across a lake. Right? And you're looking at this lake, and there's no wind. I mean, there's not a cloud in the sky. And I ask you, I'm there with you, sorry. And I ask you, hey, can you describe to me the reflection you see in the lake? And of course, you can describe it perfectly because there's no wind, right? The water's very still. And so you're like, yeah, there are the trees and the squirrels and stuff. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then clouds start to come in, right? Wind picks up. Maybe it starts to rain a little bit. And those raindrops are falling on the surface of the lake. And I ask you again, hey, can you describe to me the reflection? And you're like, yeah, I think I could still do it, right? You can maybe be able to piece together, no, that's definitely a tree over there, but it's not as clear, right? And if it really started to downpour rain, we might not be able to see that reflection at all. But the reflection is there, right? It's not like the reflection doesn't exist anymore. It's just obscured by the raindrops. Our mind is exactly like this lake. Naturally, our mind is very peaceful and calm and curious, right? But all of the worries, anxieties, all those things, they're like little raindrops, and they're obscuring that part, right? And so what we do with pacifying our mind is we clear away some of those raindrops, right? Which is an important step. I can't look at the reflection if there are too many raindrops. So we're clearing away some of the raindrops. And then this kind of next thing we're talking about, this curious mind, this curiosity, investigation, openness, like, widening our perspective. This is like looking at that reflection. After we've gone through the trouble of clearing away those raindrops, let's look at it, right? So think about something like anxiety, right? We're like, oh, I'm anxious. I want this to go away. I want this to go away. I got into meditation for like clinical anxiety. I still go through it. I was feeling anxious today, but like if I just pacify that, that's cool and important, right? But then a step further is like, okay, well, what's going on here? Let me have a curious mind about this thing that was bothering me. And maybe I'll be able to glean some interesting realization or insight into this, right? So you can see these kind of like play with each other. A curious mind is really important for meditation, right? And you see more things in the reflection. Yes, 100%. Exactly. Perfect, right? Whereas like that example of somebody cutting us off on the highway, that's like, I can only see this one little spot of the reflection because there's so many raindrops. They're a jerk. We clear some of that away. Oh, maybe there's something else going on, right? So this idea of curiosity isn't just about like, I don't know, sometimes you think curiosity like intelligence or no, it's very much related to kindness, compassion, like understanding that there's a lot of different perspectives and possibilities and variations. That's really like awesome. It's really important and really beautiful. And it's all from cultivating this curious mind, right? So we're going to do a little meditation together now. Maybe I felt like, well, that will wake me up. Especially I'm in Colorado. These lakes are cold. We're going to do a little meditation, and it's going to be pretty similar to what we just did, but we're going to do breathing meditation with a very curious mind. Okay. And one other thing that I think is a good way to think about how we're going to approach meditating with a curious mind is we're going to meditate like we're a kid at play, right? We're going to, like, you see a kid playing with like a wooden train for hours. It's like, it's a hat and this. And then if we got that wooden train, we'd be like, what am I going to do with this? Right? Because they're having a very curious mind. They're finding all these intricacies about it. So we're going to meditate like we're a child playing with this little wooden train. Cool? Okay. Oh, Andre, thank you. Save me. All right. Get comfortable. If you weren't pleased with your last seating arrangement, you can, of course, always change it. And you can go ahead and close your eyes, and we'll do a little meditation promoting curiosity to close out our evening. Okay. Take a moment and check in. Here is your curious mind at work, observing how you feel in this moment. Am I tired? Am I energetic? We're just noticing, using our curious mind to be an observer. This is often called mindfulness. Maybe that's a word you've heard before. Mindfulness is an active awareness of your own thoughts moment to moment for the purpose of being able to respond skillfully. Curiosity and skillfulness. So having checked in, you can now make a promise to yourself again to focus single-pointedly on your breath and to meditate for the next couple of moments as if you were a child at play. Just make that promise to yourself. And then go ahead and turn your full, undivided attention to your breath. Breathing in, breathing out, very gently and very naturally. We are just an observer of our breath. We don't have a barometer of success here. We're just breathing. And just noticing what it's like to breathe in and out. Whenever your attention drifts away from your breath, no big deal. We can just say not right now to those thoughts. We'll put them aside. We'll get to them later. And let's go back to investigating our breath in and out, gently, naturally. Your curious mind starts to surface naturally when you're interested in something. Is your breath interesting? On any regular day, we might say no. It's something we don't really think about, we just do. And so as you're breathing, I want you to investigate it like you're a child playing with a toy. Maybe you'll start to notice some things about your breath that you hadn't really thought about, things that were always there. Maybe you'll notice how the air feels cool temperature-wise on the tip of your nose when you breathe in. You can feel that coolness. How interesting. And then when you breathe out, it's a bit warmer, isn't it? Interesting. Temperature change. When you breathe in, maybe you're noticing your body moving, your shoulders rising as you breathe in. Why do they do that? It's so interesting. And when you exhale, what happens to your shoulders? They settle back down. How interesting. Your chest expanding, contracting. Gentle sway of your body. All these subtleties about breathing. Every aspect of you, a participant in each and every breath. How interesting. When you are single-pointedly focused on something, be it your breath, an activity, whatever, you will often find subtleties about that activity. Subtle interests, subtle joys that promote a curious mind. Even simple breathing meditation is training your mind to be curious. So just for the last few moments here, I'd like you to just think about what it would mean for you, for your day, your week, your year, your life, if you could bring a curious mind to all things. What would it mean for you? Would it make you more compassionate, more patient? Whatever benefit you settle on, just sit with that for a little while. This is you becoming deeply familiar with the benefit of a curious mind. How interesting. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Hello. So it's the same thing, right? We just did breathing meditation, but we kind of looked at it in a different way, right? Instead of just breathing and focusing on that, we're like, it's weird how like I always focus on the air, the temperature of the air, because I think that's really interesting. I never thought about that, and like it's happening all the time, right? So this is a cool example of how when we are single pointedly focused on something, we're actually kind of interested in it, and we start to naturally get a curious mind. And so when we're training in meditation, we're not just training in pacifying our mind, we're training in making a curious mind our default. Wouldn't that be awesome? Right? That was kind of at the end. Like, how would that change our day? Right? Awesome. Really good discussions today. You guys like amazing comments, amazing ideas. Thank you. It really makes these classes like what they are to have that kind of participation. So incredible. Okay. So that's it for today. Your mind has been curious enough. I'm going to put my email in the chat right now. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. I enjoyed having you here. You had a lot of great, interesting, like your comments were amazing. So thank you for being here. Keith at meditationbreaks.com. Let me say that again, not strange. Keith at meditationbreaks.com. There it is. Being curious makes learning easier. You want to learn. Learning is a desire, right? Yeah, it's awesome. Thanks, Leslie. I appreciate it. So this is my email. If you have any questions about what we did, or you are interested in doing any private instruction, I do offer virtual private instruction, which is great. We could focus on something that's really particular to what you want to accomplish with meditation. Email me. Anything you want to chat about, you can just email me. Thank you for everyone for being here. A big thank you to anyone who subscribed. Tony, thank you. I really appreciate that. Andre, thanks. Feel more relaxed. There we go. We're good. All right. Now, I don't know what time it is by you, but I gotta start winding down. And lastly, if you are interested in any other meditation topics and stuff, check out this YouTube channel. There's a lot of different topics we cover, and come back next week. We'll talk about something else, right? Thank you very much for being here. Have a wonderful and very curious week. I'll see you guys.